What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Digital Deep Dive. On this one, I get to sit down with my absolute favorite opponent of all time, having my favorite match of all time, none other than Shao Ming. It has been way too long since we've last chatted, so I am so excited. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right in to it. All right, hey guys, so I'm very excited to be sitting down with Shao Ming. It has been way too long since we've even seen each other, pandemic aside, even. It's been a while, man. How have you been keeping during all of this?
I've been not bad, cooking as much as I can, make some tacos, making tortillas from scratch, and then yeah, trying to keep my sanity a bit, just working.
You've always been a big fan away. Like I remember you always like knowing kind of the hip, cool places to go and check out in the city.
Yeah, I mean, like I haven't gone and ate anywhere in a bit, but yeah, I mean, when I was back in Victoria before the summer, I had like a Instagram that I was doing of every place that I went to Victoria, like restaurants, because I figured it
Right.
was a clean slate, right? Like I haven't been anywhere, so I can keep track of literally everywhere, every single restaurant that I go to. Um, and in like a year and a little bit, I got over 100, I think I got to.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Um, and like, yeah, I didn't try to make it like all these food bloggers you see on Instagram, like everything's spectacular, everything's awesome or whatever. I just told, it how it is. And I was brutal about some places and make better food. But
Right, right. Yeah, you are you still in like the restaurant industry or like you
yeah,
gone away from that?
working at the Amsterdam Tea Room. Right
Right.
now it's down in the exchange there.
Okay.
It's, yeah, basically, because COVID, can't do travel agency really right now.
Right.
So needed some kind of job. So yeah, go back to the roots. And yeah, I love the exchange. Love everything about being in the exchange. So works out for me.
Right on. Yeah. No, I love that. You grew up in Winnipeg your whole life, or did you travel a lot?
No, grew up, I was mostly born and bred here. I didn't really start traveling until I was 18 and then
Right.
did the road or not road trip, but backpacking trip across Europe and then basically did like one or two places every year since then.
That's awesome. And is that why you went to Victoria? It was just like a backpacking kind of just head out
No,
somewhere else?
it was for work. So
Okay.
like it was for Flight Center. So like the office in Polo that I was working at was closing down. And they basically gave us an option of we can move to any other flight center basically in Canada. And they'll um like pay for the moving expenses.
Right.
So I said, oh well, have to take advantage of the opportunity once it's there. So I never wanted to be the kind of person that lived in Winnipeg their whole lives anyway.
Right.
So yeah, opportunity was there, so had to take it. And
Yeah, for
kind of
sure.
yeah, and then kind of decided on Victoria just because I was wanting to go like either way that side or like way that side. And I love Vancouver, but it's super duper expensive. So I figured, oh, Victoria is probably a reasonable alternative.
Right on. I love that you're just like you have the guts to like just go move somewhere completely different and just give it a shot. That's something I never would have been able to do. So I want to dive into the wrestling. What kind of inspired you to actually take it up and try to become a pro wrestler?
Well, I mean, I always watched wrestling ever since I can remember. My dad, he was the one that introduced me, and he actually started watching it because my grandma um, watched it always. So yeah, it's just been part of my childhood and my life. And yeah, I was always interested in acting as well growing up, and like to kind of cross over.
Yeah.
Um, And yeah, I don't know, I just very inspired by it. And then yeah, I was in university taking mostly theater classes and whatever random classes I liked, nothing really
Right.
directional. And yeah, basically I just decided, no, again, this is just an opportunity that I need to make happen for myself. And so yeah, basically just looked into the options, found the Lance's school was probably the best option for me. And
Right.
well, let's just do it. Have to make some kind of chance at some point. So yeah.
Right. And how was the Storm Wrestling Academy for you? Did you find like your size hurt you at all, or was Lance
No,
uh very
he
positive about it?
he's pretty positive. Like I am naturally athletic, and like I've done taekwondo for 10 years before that, and amateur
Okay.
wrestling too. So I've always had an athletic background. So yeah, I liked it a lot. And I found myself to be pretty successful there as well. And then like in my class, for example, was Chelsea Green. She's probably
Right.
the most successful out of that class. And then Brett Morgan. I don't know if you
Right.
remember him, but he
Yep.
was in that class too. I don't know what he's doing now, but he did have some momentum on his side, but I don't know about whatever he's doing now.
Right.
Um, but yeah, basically that's what Lance saw out of everybody too. Was that yeah, you guys have the most potential, and then he basically pointed to me like, yeah, you did a really good job, but you'll probably need a gimmick. Is kind of what he mentioned. Um,
Okay.
yeah, but
Did he give
yeah,
you any ideas at all for a
no,
gimmick,
he
or
didn't.
like?
He didn't really give me any ideas for a gimmick. Just that that's what I would probably need to be successful in the business.
Right. Well, let's talk about the Shao Ming character then. Did I give you that name, or was that
So you gave me Shao, and then
okay?
Ming was for me because Ming is my dad's middle name actually.
That's
Um,
awesome.
it's actually my dad's middle name and both my uncle's middle names. They're Wallace Ming Yi, William Ming Yi, and Winston Ming Yi.
Wow, that's
Uh,
awesome. I had no
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
So,
So yeah, kind of combination there.
right. And you were bringing. I started seeing you kind of on the tail. You were starting to bring like nunchucks to the ring. Uh, did you have ideas going forward to like build the gimmick up and become more of a character, or was it just gunning
Yeah,
straight kind of
good.
athletic
And
style?
like, yeah, just bringing parts of, yeah, that kind of martial arts to the character as well as like, I wore the Wu-Tang jersey
Right.
to kind of like bring parts of me into the character as well. And yeah, just kind of make that combination of like martial arts, but still like not urban necessarily. I don't think that's the right word,
No, no,
but
no. I
with
get you.
kind of with some attitude though,
Right. A little
um
less one dimensional, right?
yeah, exactly.
I like that. I had no idea about your like athletic background with the wrestling and stuff, or maybe you mentioned it in passing, but I think that plays into how well you fared in wrestling. I always put over our one match at the anniversary show as like the single greatest match I've ever had. I don't. It was just a combination, I think, of
Yeah,
everything coming
and there was so much
together.
story
You
in
were
that
just
match
a great
too, right?
underdog. There was, yeah. There, I've never been able to pull off that yet with anyone else, but I always love that challenge. But you were just such a great underdog. I found that we had like such great chemistry in the ring too. You you always listened so well, and you were able to throw in your own ideas even when you were new and not scared to try things. And I mean, you being a smaller guy obviously helps too with some of the moves a lot of guys can pull
Yeah.
off on you. But yeah, what are your some of your favorite memories throughout wrestling that really stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, like, I've been very lucky to be pretty over in my career in terms of wrestling. So I don't think a lot of people are as successful immediately, at least, as I was with that. So, it's always feels good to have the crowd go wild when you come out. And it
Right.
gives you that burst of energy too, makes it fun for you. So yeah, definitely that would be it. And then, yeah, like a lot of people that I've met through it as well, I would say. not just like the in-ring experience, but hanging out with all the guys and everybody having that mutual love for wrestling is kind of infectious to have when wrestling isn't necessarily a mainstream kind of uh, thing, but then you get into this group of people who all love it, and it's a very different experience than just hanging out with your regular friends where maybe one person used to watch it or something, or
Right.
like John Cena or something. So yeah, those are like the biggest ones for me.
As far as the in-ring goes, like what are some of your big moments that you'll kind of take with you forever, just like those things that'll never leave you because they were just such awesome experiences?
Yeah, I mean, definitely winning the Premier Rumble, I think, is one of them, because that's like a once a year thing, and then have the opportunity to win it and have that big pop at the end too, with me and Scorpio
Right.
at the end, and then having our feud afterwards too. And
Right.
yeah, he's a great guy as well, right? Stiff,
Yeah.
but good guy. Um, so yeah, and then yeah, going on to winning the PCW championship and then having the feud with you, um, was really big for me. And then yeah, I mean, just being able to tell people that I've been basically across the Western provinces, like worked in Manitoba, worked in Saskatchewan, worked in Alberta.
Right.
And I'm sure if I applied myself more, I could have gone other places too. And I mean, there's still opportunity for me to do something later on too if I get my ass in the gear about it. Uh,
Right.
yeah,
How old are you now?
28 now, so
Okay.
yeah,
You still
technically
got
still in
lots
my
of time.
20s.
Yeah, no, for sure. You still got lots of time. People are wild when I tell them I'm 34. Like, it's just, I've been around for forever, but I still feel like a kid when it comes to wrestling. Like, I just feel like you can go forever. Uh, I don't think, I mean, so a lot of people that are watching this have probably seen our match, but you know how tall you are, just for context, for people to realize
Yeah,
that height
so
difference.
I tell people that I'm 5'2", 5'4",
Okay.
but it's probably 5'2".
Yeah. Okay. Right on. So yeah, like there is that context, and like not everyone in independent wrestling is tall, right? Like even six
Yeah,
feet is kind of considered tall by today's standards. But
yeah,
I think
but
it
like
didn't
even
help.
for me, like I'm small even compared to like the guys that most people consider small in wrestling. So
Right.
it's again that you can turn that into unique opportunity as well.
Absolutely. I it didn't help too. I mean, it probably helped you as far as getting those babyface reactions. Is you're always paired off with the biggest guys on the roster.
Yeah, always, no exception.
How did you find those experiences? With the size difference and everything, was it easy to plan the matches, or did you find it physically taking a toll on you because these guys were slamming you around so much?
I mean, for me, it's not hard to plan the match because I'm used to it, right? Like you
Right,
said, I'm always the smaller guy, so I will always have basically a similar game plan
right,
with my opponent. I mean, depending on who, how much bigger they are, like a match versus Tyler Colton is going to go a lot differently than a match versus Leo, right?
right,
Leo
right.
Lund. So you kind of plan it a bit differently in terms of how much bigger they are. But at the end of the day, again, I am always going to be that smaller guy. So for me, that's not a challenge. And then, yeah, I mean, like, I don't have a problem taking bumps. Like, I mean, people have always backstage said to me, like, oh, you're so tough, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, just doing my job, like, my job. Um, so yeah, I didn't really find that too challenging. And I mean, most guys, if they're smart, they know that they shouldn't really bump a guy than my size that much because if you're hitting me with every big move that you have, and I'm kicking out of every big move that you have,
Right,
what does that say about you? You
right,
can't even beat this little guy with the all like 5 power bombs. Like, what's wrong
right,
with you?
right.
You know?
Yeah, no, and again, just like your background with the sports to make your discipline and the acting background, you always had so much fire as a babyface that I think that, yeah, facing all these big guys just gave you this like tough edge to you. You were always fighting up. You were always showing that fire. It was amazing and showed like years ahead of where you were at as far as your in-ring career. You really were just like a star on the show immediately, which is a rarity to find when new students are coming out of fresh training.
Yeah. And I think for that, like a lot of it, when I see other guys too, is to just have confidence and to let yourself go. You know, a lot of guys that I see that are brand new, you know, they have talent, but then when they get out there, they feel like cramped up, you know, like they're closed
Right.
off a bit. And,
Right.
you know, successful in any performance, you have to open yourself up and be vulnerable. So I think that comes from confidence, and you know, whether you just have it naturally or you create it for yourself, I think that's the key part of it.
Man, I could talk about so many of our matches because we did wrestle each other so often. I find one kind of on the tail end before you left. I just love the creativity of it. I'm not sure how well your memory is, but we reversed the roles. You were the high flying small guy, and I was the guy always like picking apart the leg. That was just my offense as a heel at the time. And I thought it was cool the one time where we flipped the switch, where I went for a high flying move and it cost me and my leg hurt, and then you went to town with my offense on me.
Yeah,
I
I recall it. I recall it a bit, not too clearly, but I do recall.
Right, like you were just kind of game for anything. What are your favorite kind of matches? Is it the storytelling? Is it the moves? Is it, you know, a little bit of a gimmick attached to the match? What kind of stories do you like to tell in the ring?
Yeah, I mean, I think story has to be an important part of almost every match, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely that. I like having the matches where, yeah, I'm going against somebody more like Leo London size, or like it worked well with you because I can still do a certain amount of um, creative offense on you as well. But
Right.
yeah, where I kind of express myself a bit more than just the chopping down the tree, chopping down the tree, chopping down the tree kind of match. And I think people probably enjoy that more than just like the chopping down the tree bit. I don't know,
Right.
I can't speak for people, but for me, at least, it's nice to be able to have that kind of high paced back and forth um, than just the always like trying to chop that tree down. So for
Right.
me, yeah, that would be the match that I enjoy having a bit more. Is when I have a little bit more freedom in what I can actually do in that ring.
Okay. Um, I've watched back that anniversary match quite a few times. I've done like commentary and stuff for the Patreon guys following and everything. Uh, the level of storytelling in that, with old rivals coming back, or your partner turning on you, or the referee, I just think it was amazing too. Again, I don't know how well your memory is on this thing, but for that first 10 minutes, we gave him what was like an amazing, solid 10-minute, you know, perfect
Yeah,
mid card title match. And then everyone thought it was over. We hit your new finisher. Ember Moon uses
yeah,
it now.
the
I'm totally
thing.
like, no,
Yeah,
that's Shao Ming's thing. Yeah, like just they thought they had this like perfect match. It's laid out. Shao's gonna keep the title, and then we flipped the switch and gave him this whole other 10 minutes of just pure awesomeness, and just like we were killing you with everything, and you
yeah,
still kept kicking out. Like
like
fans just
one
had
thing
no
after
idea what
another
this was.
after another.
Right, like I like to describe it. It was just overbooked perfectly. Like everything that was
Yeah,
added was for a reason to escalate to a final climax. Like, do you have specific memories from that match, or like read the reactions or certain moves where it's just like, wow, this is something that feels a little more special than the rest
yeah. I mean, like I loved.
of the
Yeah, I
matches?
think that new finisher I had was really great. And it worked out good. I've watched that match a few times since. And then yeah, I remember like you had me set up for the pedigree, and then I like flipped around and reversed it into the fucking Shelton Benjamin gimmick. Uh,
That's wrestling talk right there, brother.
yeah,
Like
and
that. Yeah.
yeah, and I thought that was a great sequence. And then yeah, just everything with Beaver I thought was great. And yeah, I mean, obviously the crowd was super into it. Like just watching it back, my entrance, I just went wild, like went right into the crowd and like stood
Yeah.
on the bar top area, and then like yeah, they were in it for the comebacks, and always thought it was gonna be over that one more time, one more time, one more time. So yeah.
There was one moment I always remembered in my head, and I was glad I was able to pick it up on the camera from watching that match. But you just finished like taking out the rest of the crew. Beaver hadn't quite come out. We were kind of setting up that Beaver was going to come out to interfere, and there was one guy specifically in the crowd. Over all the noise, I could just hear him say, "I'm so invested in this right now." I think that's a credit. I think to
Yeah.
the just a different level. That was nothing I think that crowd has ever seen before as far as storytelling in a ring, and the energy level was just so different for it that uh, it'll always be my favorite match. I think.
Yeah, and like my dad, he watches most of my matches, and he always credits like the matches that we have too. He always says
Right
like,
on.
"Oh, you always have such a good match with Jay Walker." Like, uh,
Really, that's
and
awesome.
like I said, he's the one that got me into wrestling in the first place, so it means a little bit of.
Right. For sure. No, totally. That's awesome that your dad and you like share that kind of relationship over wrestling. Um, you had all this momentum. You were such a great character. You bonded so well with us backstage. You were quickly adopted as one of the boys in the crew, right? And what made you leave pro wrestling?
Well, it started off kind of like, there was all the backstage politics and like, oh, you can't work here if you work here, right?
I knew
I'm
you were
sure
going to
that
say that.
still
Yep.
was on. So yeah, I didn't really like that, and I didn't like trying to play the game either, that they wanted to play.
Right.
Um, and so that kind of disenfranchised me a little bit, I feel like.
Okay.
And then it just got to the point where like, oh, I haven't done it in a while, haven't done it in a while, haven't done it in a while, and then yeah, just now I haven't done it in a long while.
Yeah.
But then like past couple years, just like for not getting back into it though, is I would want to, if I were gonna get back to it, actually go all out and get back into it. But I hate working out, so it's a conflict.
That's me too, man. It's just, and you just to find that discipline and that time aside. I mean, there's so much going on right now. Even during a lockdown, I feel like we're still so busy doing things
Yeah.
that it is hard to find that time and that commitment. I think it's just a personality thing. I don't know. It's hard to explain because I haven't grown up in that gym culture that
And at a
some
certain
guys have.
point too, like knowing that, and like if you're not gonna, be really dedicated to it, then there's only a certain amount of spots on a show, right? And so
Right.
at a certain point you have to think maybe someone else deserves to have the spot that I might be taking up if I'm not actually gonna be serious about this, right?
Right. Right.
And kind of give
So
respect
have
to the business that
you
way.
been right? Right. So have you been following wrestling still? Is you still watching it all, or are you kind of
Yeah,
just totally
yeah,
disconnected now?
yeah. I've been watching AEW pretty consistently,
Right
and
on.
I pay attention to WWE and whatever else. But like Monday Night Raw is pretty unwatchable most of the time. So like if there's something specific that I'm intrigued by, I'll check it out. But yeah, AEW I'm watching pretty consistently. Um, and yeah, I love the like that they're kind of resembling WCW. One of the things I'm super curious about is because a lot of the Fed guys have gone over there now, right? And that was the
Right.
case when WCW originally started too, right?
Right.
But
Right.
then it changed to where some of the younger guys in WCW they started not having that many opportunities, and then they moved over to WWE. I'm wondering when that's going to happen with AEW. They're signing so many people and they've got so many guys there. When is it going
Right.
to be the case that guys start moving from there to other pastures?
That's definitely an interesting angle to take. I don't know. I mean, we'll see in time, right? I feel like the culture at AEW behind the scenes is a lot different from what all the stories you hear from
Hmm.
everyone. But there could be a couple of those guys that are just kind of being looked over because there's so much else going on. I mean, they dedicate 7 hours to film their dark and dark elevation shows too,
Yeah,
so it's a long day
so
for everyone.
much.
Right. It's a lot of wrestling going on, but it's good wrestling, I feel, and it's something that connects more with us. And I think too, as I feel like independent wrestlers or people that have at least had a taste of independent wrestling, they really feel a connection to AEW because it was this underground movement from these indie guys who just kind of took everything
Yeah,
in their own hands and it really made something awesome out of it.
and they give so many guys chances too, like so, and like I mean, you see lots of guys that we've been on shows with and stuff that have appeared on
Absolutely.
it. So it's awesome to see.
No, it's awesome to hear you're still a fan, at least, and we didn't totally kill the business for you.
No, no, no. I'll
I know there's probably been right. I'm sure there was a lot of immaturity and stuff in the locker room. I don't know if that was like a big wake up call as far as what pro wrestling was going to be for you either. I know, yeah, there's been some things. I want to apologize even for like saying some things backstage, which were like totally, not meant to hurt you, but they could have been taken that way. But
no,
like,
that
no,
no. I mean, that's just fucking talk, right?
right,
Uh,
yeah, no, but that's totally not me now. Like I've totally
yeah.
realized that we need to be a lot better. So I want to apologize to you right now if anything did offend you ever.
No, there's
But
nothing I can remember having been offended by you, so no need to.
okay, right. I want to be better for everything going on, and I want wrestling to be better when things open back up. So I just want to like wipe everything clean. Let's start over and make sure that we've got a great culture because there's so many good guys that deserve an opportunity. And I hope one day maybe you get that itch to come back because you fit in so well with our little group. You were awesome, and you still had so much more potential to achieve. Like you were just scratching the surface. I feel like you really could have made it. But one thing I am working on, and I hope that there's enough guys who have the same ambition as me, is to blow up the Canadian wrestling scene because nobody knows we exist outside of our own bubbles. I say it all the time. Just to start making waves, start going online more. Whether we're streaming shows or throwing up more stuff on YouTube. I just feel like we are great wrestlers. Like there's so many great wrestlers in Winnipeg, and just nobody's getting the respect we deserve because nobody is seeing any of the stuff outside of the bars that we wrestle in or the tiny little gymnasiums, or we do our little pro wrestling noir shows in front of 10 people sometimes.
Well,
Nobody knows we exist.
well, at least Kenny is saying that he's from Winnipeg on TV now, so
Yes, no, that's a big
might go
change.
back to learn the history of him and then start watching some old PCW shows wherever they may or may not be available. So
Right.
yeah,
We've seen some of that actually. It's been a while since you've been at a show, but there have been people actually flying to Winnipeg to catch PCW, not just for Kenny, but because they have kind of fallen in love with PCW now. So it's great to see that there's a little bit of kickback from Kenny. But again, I think we can all do the same thing that him and the Bucks and those guys did, in just creating awareness, opening up our attention to other fans, just paying attention in our little corner of the world.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I still have wrestling dreams of like matches that I put together in my dreams.
Right on.
If I ever get into the gym, then next step is getting in the ring.
Right on. One thing is that when you come back, I have to put you over because you did it every single time for me. I think you've only beaten me like once or twice, and it was never. I don't think it was ever in front of the PCW crowd. I need to return the favor to you and put you over because you deserve it. Because everyone loves you.
Hey, and any kind of reaction is just what I look for. So yeah,
Awesome. You were always awesome backstage. You were always awesome in the ring. I miss having you at the shows because you brought a great positive energy too, which sometimes can be quite
lacking.
lacking, especially during the winter months when everybody's actually got to drive to these shows in miserable conditions and whatnot. But no, you were always awesome to have, and I miss talking with you. Maybe now that I know you're watching AEW regularly, maybe we can chat it up a little bit. I'm always watching too, but we gotta get you back around, even if you just come say hi backstage that first show when we're back. It'd be great to see you in person.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, whenever that is.
Right, yeah. So I appreciate you coming on. It's been awesome catching up and kind of diving in a little bit. That's about time for now, but maybe we'll get you back on when you make your in-ring return. I'll keep pushing. But do you want people checking out the food Instagram page or anything you want to give a shout out to?
I mean, that's not really active right now because I am so
Okay.
brutal with it that I feel like right now when restaurants are kind of struggling, they don't really need that negativity in their lives. So it's a bit of a
Right.
break right now.
Well, if you start up again, let me know. I'll put it out, and then people can follow along and see your takes on the local cuisine of wherever you're at.
All right, sounds
Sounds
good.
good. All right. Thanks again for chatting. We'll see you again real soon.
Thanks.